Sexual reproductive health and rights is not something that I would say it's one word. I always say that it's a plant seed from which so many things grow. If you don't give sexual reproductive health and rights, the problem of early age marriages grows up. The problem of unhealthy pregnancies grows up. The problem between couples grow up. The abortion issues grows. So it's not even limited to these 3-4 things. It's much more than that. I always say that it's not about having a small family. It's about having a healthy family. It's not about when you are going to have a child. It's about if you are making a choice to have your family, or it's the peer pressure or your family pressure who's asking you. I always make it in a fun way, even in my speaking in another way. I say that why the girls in subcontinent, I mean India and Pakistan, have a very short-term reproductive organs that expires after 25 years. But whereas when I go to other countries like in West, especially everybody's getting married, around 30. And a lot of women are having children at 35 and 40s too. I'm not saying that there would be not a single complication, but they're heavy and it's normal. But in our subcontinent, every woman is born with an expiry date of 25 years. So this is what it is said when somebody gets married. If you won't have child in the first year, oh my God, something's going to happen to you. And that actually makes you afraid if you are not, into medical science and everything. So Pakistan has that issue. It is the issue in the subcontinent, in Bangladesh and India as well, but same as it is in Pakistan too. So this is the first thing. No counseling, no information, and a lot of myths attached to it.
Hello everyone, my name is Din Long and welcome to the podcast Lifeline. In this podcast, I will interview people who are having a positive impact in their community and have a strong message that deserves to be shared. We will dive deeper into their journey becoming a change maker, and hopefully you can take away some insights for your own journey. And please do subscribe to Lifeline on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or any platform that you are using. And also you can share this episode with your friends if you like it. It's really what helps me the most. In today's episode, you will meet Laraib Abid, who is a sexual and reproductive health rights activist from Pakistan. She shares her journey launching Flare of MASHAL, which empowered 25,000 women so far to make informed decisions related to family planning. Flare of MASHAL is a youth and women-led organization advocating for equal rights in society and women's empowerment through sexual and reproductive health. We speak about how she learned to grab life-changing opportunities such as volunteering, scholarships abroad or grants, which made who she is today, and how she lives against the tide, being a woman in tech and a woman addressing a taboo topic in Pakistan. Enjoy this super cool episode. You will really feel the excitement and passion of Laraib, and see you in 1 hour and 30 minutes. So again, I said it a few times already, but I'm very happy and very excited to have you, Laraib, in Lifeline podcast today. And I always start a bit how I got connected, how I discovered you. So in our case, it's Aggie, who is my colleague at UNDP, who introduced you to me, because I was talking to her and she listened to the episode of Omer, and I was like, yeah, do you know any, entrepreneur from Youth Collab you think is a good fit? And she was like, Laraib. You have to interview Laraib. I think she just...
Oh, you pronounced my name so correct. I'm impressed.
Oh, really? Okay. And yeah, I think she just came out from one of your events, and she was like, I think still very inspired. So she was like, I think you were all over her mind. And yeah, I think since then, it took some time, but we finally got the chance to connect today. So yeah, very happy. And maybe just to kickstart, would you like to introduce yourself, who you are, what are you doing these days, or anything else that you want to share?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. That actually means a lot when somebody, recommends in a way. Maybe for you, for them, it's just a nomination, but for the person, whose name is taken, it's like making a day. So I'm really glad to be a part of it. And my name is Laraib. I live in Lahore, Pakistan, and I've been working for sexual and reproductive health and rights since like 7+ years. So I also teach at a public university, state university, and I also teach reproductive health and rights and gender studies. I teach because I love training. I'm a trainer, and my teaching is more like a training program because I believe that being a student, I actually felt a lot of gap where we were not told about the opportunities, where we didn't know, where we should move ahead, so on and so forth. So it's just one semester a year that I take, but that's for my passion. My full-time work is, of course, dedicated to sexual and reproductive health and rights, which is via MASHAL, and MASHAL is my baby. It's my organization that I lead, and it's been almost now, I guess, again 6+ years since I started just as a social work activity one day, and I'm really glad that it's been so many years, and today I'm at a point where I can say that I've developed something. Maybe I've impacted somebody, or maybe the tools that I've developed are quite recognized in a way that is helping people, because I always wanted to do something that can in return create an impact, not just mere a business. So this is something that was my aim always. My education is sociology, the same social work studies. And then I went to UGrad program, USEFP in US for fully funded exchange semester. Then I came back and had my master's from Punjab University here in gender studies. So my field is, of course, linked to my work as well. And I chose health maybe because I came from a family of doctors. Maybe that's why I always, a bit inclined towards that. But I'm glad that nobody forced me to be a doctor because I didn't want to. So I came in this, but I really wanted to be in the health sector, focusing family planning, and that was an inspirational story that I'll just share after a few questions.
Cool. And I think maybe the first thing I want to say is you sound very humble. When you say you arrive at the stage where maybe you have impacted people, and I think you have. I mean, just from what I understood, what I have heard from Aggie, you've impacted a lot of people. And it's interesting because it's a question I wanted to ask you later. But let's, when I tried to look at everything that you've been doing, your LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, like everything online. And I found these two, your Facebook intro, which is, first, your nickname is Anna. I would love to have the story. And also I've seen a social worker and want to be a change maker, love fashion, can go with the flow, traveler, and feminist. Would love if you can explain all of that. And also, why did you write want to be a change maker? For me, you are already, a change maker.
I'm very glad that I was able to fit those words in the biography, because there were very few words allowed, and it took like 1 hour to think how to write those all words, but I really wanted. So yes, that's very accurate, I would say, description of my personality or my passion. The reason I wrote everything in other tense but a change maker is want to be a change maker, because I do believe that change is a continuous process and you're always a part of it. I would never say that I've made a change. I can say I've made an impact. Maybe I'm recognized. Maybe this is something that's being accepted. But change is a very slow process, a very long process. So I want to be a change maker because I don't know if I would be able to, be a part of that bigger change that I want to. But that was the reason that I wrote it a bit different way, and very keen observation, I must say. Yeah, because it definitely had the deeper meaning. And then I'm a feminist, and it's very controversial in my country to even write that on the profile. But I believe that I literally own it. And for me, the definitions that people give on social media that they have in their mindset, which is being exploited with the group of those people who do not want equality, and people are blindly following them. Because of them, I would never hesitate to take this. I believe in equality of genders, and even all genders, not even two genders. So this is because, as I told you, that even it was my study. I remember when I did my master's, it was in gender studies, and I had feminism and all these as subjects. And at that time, nobody even knew what feminism is. And recently it has become so controversial. When it became controversial, I put it because a lot of women I have seen who were feminists, they were afraid to take the name that we are feminists. So I just wanted to, be proud of this fact that yes, I am, and I won't care what social media says and what people are saying. And yes, I love fashion. I remember many times in my life before my professional career, not now actually, when it was just a start, a lot of people have that misconception that people who are into fashion would never work or would never be a brilliant student. So I always, didn't like this fact. And when somebody knew me, because I was also a topper throughout my school life, and that's why a lot of relatives were like, why you didn't become a doctor? Because you you scored quite good. But this is something that I've struggled, because if I, like, dressing up, and, I like fashion, why that fashion is so much linked into that person would not be intelligent and would just be into fashion. So this is a stereotype that I broke. And today, of course, I don't hear those comments anymore, but I write that because I own it, and this is a part of my personality, and I really like doing so. But COVID has actually changed this a little bit. I never came to a conference, never attended a conference so casually in looks that now I do, because it's been 2 years. And to be really honest, now sometimes I have sessions like 5 to 6 in a row, and I'm sitting at home, so the motivation is very low. When I was going, motivation was very high. Then I'm a traveler. My mother used to travel a lot, and maybe because of her, I always liked traveling. But of course, being a student, it's not always easy. So when I started representing myself in the conferences, that gave me a chance to travel. And to be honest, the first and foremost part that I tell everyone, even my students, is that traveling changes you. And I cannot explain how. I cannot explain, but I have seen difference in those people who have traveled than those who haven't. I don't know the reason. Maybe it's because you meet a lot of people. I was extremely crazy to meet new people from different cultures, from different religion. I still remember there was a batch who came to my university from another country, and I wanted to talk. I wanted to know their, side, their exposure. This was something I don't know in me since long. So when I went abroad myself, I took this opportunity and literally met and talked to people as much as I could. I'm a very bad icebreaker, but I try myself for that. I try to be a good one. So yes, I love traveling. I mean, if there's a conference there, which is, this is something like two benefits in one thing. I of course want to meet people. I want to get exposure, and on the other hand, now I tend to represent my idea. I tend to represent my work, my country. So just tours is something else, and being a traveler in this way, where I'm representing my work and also traveling, that makes me even happier. That is not just a tour. So I feel more excited when it's this such kind of opportunities. So I never leave any fellowships. I never leave such programs that will always give me exposure. In fact, the idea that I got, even though the inspiration was a story of my friend, but somewhere the reason that I actually came to that point was the exposure that I got abroad. Because you meet so many different people that you haven't seen since birth here. For me, traveling is a part of my life, and I never wanted to. And imagine me in the COVID. I mean, I had like almost 6 conferences in the year of COVID, I guess. And when they all cancelled, now only 3 are left for next year. I don't know if they will sustain that or not, because there are issues with the organizers and everything that keeps on happening. But these all things are really close to my heart: social work, change maker, fashion, traveling. This is something. If people who are on my social media know that these posts used to come a lot of time on my social media timeline.
It's really cool, because I can really feel when you say you took time to think about it, because when like with fashion, with feminists, with can go with the flow, it's these things that I feel like you want people to react like, oh she loves fashion, oh she's a feminist, oh she like cannot go with the flow, because it's always against what the majority like expect. And it goes well with can go with the flow. Actually, it's like everything is linked together. And also I find it so interesting that everything you manage, it's like they're all connected together also in your life. Like it's not, you mentioned you go to a conference or you travel, you put on your favorite clothes, you speak about feminism and your social work and the change maker side of you, and you try to be different. So I think it's very interesting. These few words, it's interesting, really summarizes like, well, your life, even though I don't know much about your life yet. So let's go into it. And yeah, I think from what you said, I just inspired me 1 million questions. So maybe let's
Sure.
start. Maybe with I like to start chronologically. So from your childhood. So you mentioned a bit that your two parents are doctors, and that also your mom loved traveling. Maybe could you share a bit about your childhood in Lahore, and what were your dreams when you were like a little girl?
Yeah. So my sisters are also doctors. They are twins, younger than me. So most of my time that I spent is with my mother, because my father left this world a very long time ago. So most of the time that I've spent is with my mother, even in the childhood and even afterwards. But if I talk about my dreams or my childhood, I would say that I was one of those kids in the class. I still would say that was always confused about why I was never so ambitious of getting first position, to be honest. But the thing that confused me was always like, why those papers, those three set of papers, I have lesser marks or lesser scores than these three, although my struggle is the same, my hard work is the same. And then I remember one day there was a teacher, and we are very old. When I was in sixth grade, I guess the computer subject was introduced with this is mouse, this is PC. I remember there was a flow chart, and the teacher of computer studies, she told us that, in the flow chart, you can write any process you want. So because I was very bad at cramming and memorizing, so I wrote it about, my own process. So she gave that question in the paper, and she said, write anything, any process. So she had two examples, of one of making tea and one was something else. So I just thought, okay, I'll write about the tea. So, the way my mother used to cook, I wrote it, and she crossed my whole question, and she deducted my marks, I remember. And she said that you don't put tea leaves with water and milk at the same time. And I was just in the sixth grade. I was holding the paper. Of course, I couldn't get anything at that time. And I was like, but we make it this way. And I just kept thinking myself that why this certain question has this marks. Now, the reason that I'm telling you this is not something that happened for the one time. Throughout my school, I kept on thinking that why I cannot cram anything. I could memorize the concept, but I could never cram it. Even if teacher would have said, you have to cram, I couldn't. She told me you have to write T process. I write the one that, I used to make. That's happening around me. That's the concept that I have. So this is my whole school life, where I have been getting good grades in those subjects where there was creative writing, where I could write myself. And then there was those toppers who would cram the creative essay. And I was like, how come do you cram the creative essay? I could never do it. So their scores with me in that level were equal, their cram and my essay marks. And when it came to those subjects, where teacher expected cramming, I used to get lesser marks. Maybe this was something parents could also get. What is the mindset of a child? She's being more creative. Then I started in my extracurricular activities. I remember I had we have a course till 5th or 6th grade, which is other sort of syllabus, we say private. And then the government book starts when we have to give the board exam. So now the government books are a little different. So, I was still among the toppers, and I was prefect. And as you said that you keep all those things together. So as a prefect, I was not one of those students who would be the front bencher and very nerdy. And I was like doing, laughing, talking to friends, making fun, and also studying. So teachers would always be our friends because they would know that they're good at studies, and then they also make fun. And they're also at times first benchers, and one day they would be last bencher. So my life is, I always wanted to, I don't know if I was able to, but for me, the life is not about just one thing. It's not just education always. It's not just always about work. It's not just always about a person. I think it's a balance. And life is beautiful when you have balance of all those things that you want. So it's something built in me since childhood. So when, I grew up, I did my pre-medical, I realized, then I knew about cramming and everything. And then I told my mother literally that, this has happened in my childhood. I used to think this, there was a paper. Now I know that was cramming. And that's why those papers were, lesser marks and everything. But no teacher could ever get it. And because this was not very common. Then I got it like being in 18 and 19 years old that, okay, that's the reason, that was the confusion I had in the school. So I always talk about the school system in our country as well, which is merely based on cramming, like a lot of schools, majority of the schools. Then I left pre-medical, no pressure from my family. And I didn't prepare for any exam and anything. And I went to the architect design because I wanted. And then I also got admission in sociology. So that was my life's biggest challenge to choose if I should go into designing or if I should go into the social work, because they both were equally important. So then I write pros and cons and somehow managed to be in social sciences. But the point all I'm talking about here is that I certainly believe that I actually believe, if I just talk about my own point of view, that somewhere I did feel like that I balanced my life. It's not, people feel bad, stressed out when they just are into one thing. If they start studying, it's just studying. If they start partying, it's just partying. If they get married, it's just about marriage. So I think a key to happiness is when you keep everything together with you and travel.
Oh, it's very like, did this mindset, like, did it feel like, from what I understand, it's both. I think it's very good that, you said no pressure from the family. I feel like it's something very important. At the same time, I wondered, like, your creative side, was it fostered by anything in particular? Like, did you, I don't know how to say, but you were always creative, or I don't know, it's something, I know your family is creative, so you are also creative, or is it something, I don't know, that happened at some point?
My mother told me that I always was. She tells me the stories that you were very young and used to say, okay, this room can be like this, okay, this dress could be like this, or this something, can be like this, that we never even thought of. So she tells me that I was like this since start. But of course, as a, at that time, you don't get it, that it has a lot to do with the choice of career as well. I believe that the people who are creative are meant for different arts or social sciences, I feel. I mean, it's not necessary, but I just feel like they're happier over there. My all family members are doctors and they are creative as well. But I think the side of creativity that I have is more that I've got from my mother. She is very creative and she has actually had the life in such, balanced way, I would say, that maybe subconsciously I've learned it from her, and maybe a part of it is in my genes. But I have been this creative since start day. I remember myself in the school in the very early ages, some incidents that has happened. So I think, yes, from very beginning.
And did you want to become an artist at some point, or you were like, how did you end up in the social work side?
Yes, I still have my copies of first and second grade that I've kept in my room. And I still say, what do you want to be? And my answer written over there is, I want to be an architect. And even those spellings that I learned was very difficult at that time, but I always wrote it, I wanted to be an architect, because my mom used to say that she is very creative. So she is definitely going into, she never, said, okay, only this field is something that you're going to. So I kept that. But I don't know, when I grew up and, I went to this side, what happened. I had pros and cons list. It was very difficult. I asked my mom. She said, no, I'm not going to take your decision. And, you have to take it yourself. I can just tell you what I think. But if I think the decision might be biased. So I took that decision myself. And honestly, there is no reason. I still believe that it was like totally equal interest for me, because I love interior. I love fashion. I think the ideas comes to my imagination for clothing, designing, interior, and every those sort of projects. So even if I would be an architect, I do believe that I would have put my effort for it too. So there is actually no reason, and I still believe it was like equal for me. Sociology and this architect was 5 years, and sociology was 4 years. So this is one difference, which I don't know, doesn't make like a lot of difference, to be honest, but I somehow chose sociology.
And during that time, before you started to study sociology, did you already start to travel with your mom a bit around like Pakistan?
Oh, within Pakistan, yes. Abroad, no, because she was a single parent at that time, and like she had a lot of responsibilities. We have struggled through, so we used to, hang out a lot. We used to go in Pakistan, within Pakistan a lot, and that's why maybe I had this feeling that I will go out and something like this. And I used to see her pictures because before marriage she used to travel a lot. So, and then she used to tell me that, I used to go on scholarships because I used to go in the library and the scholarships were posted in the library. So, but how come you will go to the other countries in scholarships? And at that time, internet was emerging. It was not even here back in when I was in 6th or 7th grade. So when I grew up, internet came in and I saw the opportunities. She was extremely happy because she always wanted us to get exposure. So yes, part of it is because of her, but I started traveling after my bachelor's. My first time was my exchange semester that I started with.
Okay, yeah, no, because I think it's nice to speak about opportunity. I saw that it has become a more and more important part as well of MASHAL. I mean, it's a huge jump in time. But so hopefully we can speak about it a bit later. But yeah, so like you study sociology, and is it, because I felt like even, I think even before MASHAL, you were already quite, like a genuine reproductive and sexual health leader in Pakistan, because you were involved in all these initiatives. Is it something you discovered through your studies, or did it happen after you studied?
So I started volunteering because of my field. Everybody volunteers, but I always say that the volunteering is our field as well. So other people volunteer maybe for the credits or for the summertime, but we do volunteer because this is our field. So when I started volunteering, I got an offer for the job. I worked in NGO sector for 2-3 years and then also in international NGO for a year or so. So when I got the offer, by chance, the offer was for a project. It was a national project for reproductive health and rights. So I started off straight away with that. But then when I worked, I did project, I got a lot of learning. And maybe that was also an inspiration that I thought, no, I will also do something like this, but maybe under my own umbrella, maybe pitching my ideas without any, limitations or without thinking about, there are certain restrictions in any organization, or maybe I wanted to lead. So yes, straight away I got the project actually of health. It was a coincidence.
Okay, yeah, so good, very good coincidence in the end. Okay, and when did your exchange happen? During that sociology studies, right?
Yes, last semester.
So yeah, could you share a bit before we come back on your work in Pakistan? But yeah, like how, what did it happen? How did it happen? Why did you say you have very bad icebreakers? What happened? I think it was in the US, right? Could you share a bit like the highlights of this experience?
Oh, I think those 6 months were like a complete life, one life that I've lived somewhere. It was like a complete journey. I remember somebody when I actually didn't know any platform before that. So I went to a volunteer organization. I was volunteering and there was a, random group of people. We met, we talked. So one of the, volunteer from them, he told me that very casually and very in a way that, I wouldn't definitely know. He said, did you apply for UGRAD? So I was like, UGRAD? What did you say? What's UGRAD? I said, can you spell it? So he said that it's UGRAD. And that's it. The conversation ended. I came back home, and that is something that I always tell people, that I tell opportunities to so many people, but I haven't seen that passion in a lot of people that, they stick to it, search it, and make sure that they apply it. I came back, I Googled it. I literally saw all the applications, all the videos I could see, everything. And I met him next day, and I told him that I have seen you, Brad. Do you know what is personal statement? He said that, yes, I know. Of course, he knew everything about the opportunities. I said, can you share a bit about it? So he told me what a personal statement is. I said, okay. This was my first time. I just, verbally asked him, and he also showed me a sample. And I wrote it and I sent it very confidently, very casually. And after a few days, he asked me, did you send it? I was like, yes, since long I've sent it. And he was like, you didn't even go to your teacher for the proofread, to ask someone. Or I was like, no, shoot, I didn't know that you have to go to the teacher for the proofreading. I still have that personal statement with me. And then after a month or two, I got an email stating that you're selected for the exchange program. And I was jumping like anything. And my parents were so proud. At that time, my father was alive, and he, was extremely, extremely happy and distributing the CDs to everyone and saying that, she's going somewhere. I was really happy. So this was the journey. This is how I picked an opportunity. If you will tell me something that, there's an opportunity, even right now at this point, even if I'm occupied, I'm going to see it, I'm going to write it, and I'm going to, keep an update when it's coming. I am one of those people. I would never live in my comfort zone. So I believe because of that, I got that opportunity. And my personal statement was not so exceptional that it would, make a mark. Especially Lahore is considered as a city with, a lot of opportunities. They prefer people from smaller cities. Although I work in the boundaries of Lahore with the marginalized community as well, but globally people think that Lahore is just developed. Every corner is developed. So this was a very big shock to me. But of course, I was beyond excited. We had an orientation. I got the visa. They gave us pocket money. And I told everyone that you don't need any bank statement. They even give you pocket money to go to Islamabad embassy. To go for the visa, they give you pocket money. The things were new for me, the fully funded stuff. They gave the free flights and free food, it all. So this was very new and very exciting for me. And I was like, yes, these are the scholarships my mother used to talk about. So it was like very optimistic approach that I had for this. I went there. Again, ice breaking is not my cup of tea. I've been working on it like since long. I should have, done it more. So when I went there, so it was very difficult for me to break the ice always. So it was always those people who would, come first. I was always friends with those. I would never be the one to talk first. Although there is no harm in it, but I don't know why this is something I find it difficult. So I made good friends, but the place where I went, it was Emporia State University. It's a small city. The Americans were not, I've seen in my country that foreigners would come and we would be excited to greet and meet them, ask them, offer them hospitality and everything. But when I went there, the Americans were not at all interested in anyone. So I saw that, okay, they are studying, the culture is a little different, they are more into maybe the girlfriend, boyfriends, they would spend time with them. Whereas in my country and city, there would be bigger group friends, laughing, making fun, and the ambience of university was very different from my university and my place. It was very individualistic approach. Even a lot of people would just come alone, just with the hands free, and they would attend the lecture and go back. So this was something very different for me. Imagine people who cannot even break the ice. For them, such environment was very different. But of course, with such, there are a lot of good things as well. I got my host family, which was not every Ugradian had it, but my host family was the famous in the group of Ugradian. Everybody used to say, we envy you, Laraib. So my host family is still in contact with me. They're still my parents, and I love them with the core of my heart. I think they just had to spend 2 weeks with us. They didn't leave us for a single day in 6 months. Whether it's our food, it's our shopping, dropping us to the airport, it was not their duty. She was always there, always there. And even imagine that I planned a trip to another, city, and I didn't know that she thought she has to pick up, and I was arranging cab, so I didn't tell her the schedule and everything. So while I was coming, it was very late night. She was there at the pickup station, and she said that you should have told me if it was late night. I couldn't even utter a word saying that I didn't know that she was coming. I mean, she thought it so mandatory. She was so sweet that she would say that I feel good that when I am with you guys, I can, roam around the roads. I can go out before you. I wasn't, hanging out much. And this was a sentence that my mom used to say. And it made me so emotional because she's also one of those people who would still come with us for our work and would say that I feel good even doing work for you because it helps me to hang out, go outside, something like this. So she was also fond of this. So she has been my backbone in Pakistan, and that my host family was my backbone because I lost my father when I was there after a month. So I think my host family was the one who supported me like anything. I mean, I had my best birthday party over there. They threw a party. They picked up all my friends. I mean, it was not their duty at all, whatever they have done, without any agenda, without anything. So, my best time has been those. So if I say that if I have American friends, those are the people who are my family. And rest of the people were the international students because my university had a lot of focus with the international department. So I had a friend from Russia. I had a friend from Syria. They were my Moz and Yulia were my really good friends. And it was of course a bit struggling time because I haven't seen my grandparents. So this was sort of first death that I've seen in my life. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how to cope. I also self-isolated me for a while. It was difficult for me to start traveling again. But again, my host family has been my strength. They also had an offer to go back to Pakistan. It was my last semester. If I had, come back. So I had sort of exchanged credits / frozen my semester. So if I had come back, whole thing would have messed up. Then it's not easy to, how would I know that I will be completing semester, in what way, how? There was no answer. So my mom told me that you don't need to come. Just try to, enjoy over there, take this out of your mind, but complete your degree over there. It's your one lifetime opportunity. And I also believe that when things keep on happening in life, but you have to move on because, such opportunities and things, maybe you can get it again, but if there's no point of coming back. He had already gone. If he was here, he was sick, you think different. But for a person who's already gone, my mother herself, she was like, and the people at the program of UGrad appreciated her a lot. They said that there are very few people who actually say this because it keeps on happening with a lot of people when they come here. So a lot of people even say, okay, we want to go back and all, and your whole semester and everything gets messed up. So it's really good to see that she's staying here. I stayed there for the whole period. I completed everything. But I do believe that it was a full life that I've spent there. The travel, I did almost, I don't know, 10, 15 states that I've seen, people whom I have met, people on the, with different perspectives, people at your side. It was like a full journey. I mean, those 6 months, I feel like I've lived a life, whole life. So that I think that changed me as a person too.
Oh, that's so cool. So the way you share stories, you are like a very good storyteller. You should add that in your in your Facebook description. But no, I think, I mean, when we, it's interesting to see like this other life or this lifetime, this life-changing experience all started from not much, right? But just this random guy who shared, hey, have you applied to UGrad? And you're like, but when we think about it, you could have, there's so many ways you could have reacted. Yes. Either you don't care, either you take the opportunity, but you don't do anything with it. You don't Google. And I feel like it's for me, there's two phases when it comes to opportunities. I love this concept of opportunities. One is, yes, being able to have access to them. It's one phase. But the second phase is also when you see them and able to identify them around you, is to take them. And you could have not taken them, right? So I just wondered, like, why were you so keen? What makes you different from other people in terms of, if there is an opportunity, you want to grab it like right away?
Always. I don't know the reason, but always. Even I'm telling that if there's some, panel going on and they would say that there is one opportunity, I'm definitely going to see it, apply, see the eligibility and see, if it works, because I believe life's short and I have to do what I'm passionate for. And if there are opportunities, why should I even not apply? There's like no concept of not applying for any opportunity whenever I hear. So like you said, I always discuss this with my, friends and family as well. you might have heard about alternate universe. So I always say that, there's alternate universe, and Laraib over there has not Googled that. She hasn't seen it. She's living here. So for every scene in my life, not only this, I always say them, so okay, if it's an alternate universe and I wouldn't have done this, imagine where was I? So, this also helps me to feel motivated and, keep going, keep on going.
When you apply, do you usually expect that you will have it or not necessarily?
At that time, for my first opportunity, I had no feeling. I mean, I just applied. It was for the very first time. I even didn't know the application procedure, how they will be taking the interview or everything. Nothing. So there was nothing on my mind. I just applied with my whole, what I could, write the best. I just applied with my whole heart and a whole R&D that I did. So that was my approach towards. I'm going to do the best and leave it the rest.
I feel like it's a very deep question, but it inspires me. But do you have any regrets in your life?
Regrets in my life? No. I think even if I have failed at something, or there was something that, didn't bring out the best in me and didn't give the best, moments, taught me something always. So this taught me about people, about life. So I wouldn't say that I regret, because if that wouldn't have happened, so I think I wouldn't have learned what I've learned afterwards. So I wouldn't call anything as regret. Or maybe something like that hasn't happened, would people call it regret? No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, because now I find it interesting, because I think there's two ways in this theory that I'm building right now. But either, you apply to all opportunities because you expect that you will get them. Either you apply because you don't want to have regrets later. And I feel like, with the concept of alternate universe, you're like, think about her who's not taking any opportunities. Like, you have the chance to still like try. And whether you get it or not, you tried your best. So yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, this interesting mindset. I always think I love to think about the first step in, to like a tree of like what happened and things like this, and see, okay.
I used to think that everybody is like this, because people complained a lot about opportunities. So I thought everybody is like this. But then I saw that it's not the case. A lot of times people know about opportunities, but they don't want to step out of their comfort zone. They either are into, hijacking other people's ideas, or maybe bad mouthing, or maybe, I don't know, that even doesn't give any sort of happiness or success or progress in your life. But they are happy doing this. And then they keep on complaining, but they don't want to even, try the opportunities, get out of the comfort zone. So initially I used to think that everybody is the same. They just complain because they don't get the opportunity. So I was like, oh my God, I will tell you. I used to take everybody in my board and say, oh, if you don't know, I will tell you. What's the big deal? You could also, of course, I learned a lot of lessons then. It also proved harmful for me, because it's not the case with everyone. So I have learned over time.
It's funny how you started from a place where you don't have access, you don't even know such opportunities exist, to become the one who's the opportunity distributor,
Yes. I do have a workshop as well for just opportunities, and whole year there are a lot of messages that keep popping in my inbox. When are you doing that workshop? When are you doing that workshop? Do wonders. Everybody's waiting for that. And I also for my students. So now I do just because of people like me, because I still believe that, why did I come to know about this in last semester? Why my teachers didn't tell me about this in first semester? There are a lot of volunteer opportunities abroad. There's so many fellowships. Why I didn't know that in first semester? Imagine if I had started in 18 age, in 28 years, it's a decade of learning, work and ideas and everything. So I do have this feeling that why teachers and mentors didn't tell it on time. So I try to be that one. That's why I tell my students and people who are in 20s, early 20s that, don't face these years. These are very special.
Definitely. I recently interviewed a Vietnamese woman who grew up in a small alley in Vietnam. So in an environment where she doesn't have access to opportunities. And she told me, only people who've been through that understand the value of opportunities, because it changed their life. So they know it can change people's life. But I believe that if you grow and you always have so many opportunities coming at you, you don't necessarily realize that it has this life-changing value, because you just have them every day. So, really love. And I mean, well, so I think it's perfect transition to speak about MASHAL and your reproductive and sexual health advocacy. I think from what I've been observing, it has been a huge journey. You said 6-7 years from, so many things, but maybe just to start slowly. Do you remember, I don't know, either the first day of MASHAL or the day you had, when you said you had the idea of doing something by yourself, but when was the day you were like, okay, I'm going to do it?
I think it was in my first job, when I was like, if, other people can have a team and have an organization, why I can't always have to, work under someone, and why can't I have an organization where maybe I can freely pitch my ideas? This was the first thought that came, to my mind. And even through my school life, I have also observed that thing in myself, that I was better at work when it came to my ideas, instead of, being under someone. This is in my nature. This is not always good, but I couldn't help it, because this is something in my nature that, I want to maybe lead, but cannot be under someone. This is bad. So I even forced myself, for the sake of learning. It's really important that you work under someone. I have learned everything from that, part, working with someone, working under someone, because that's how you grow. So that was never easy. So that was for sure that I'm not going to do any job. I'm just going to be an entrepreneur, going to do my own work, but not job. So even I'm teaching is because, you're teaching in university, there's nobody, above me telling me how to, teach, what to teach. One of the reasons why I also teach is because the way, it is designed. It's my choice what I teach, my content, everything is like totally autonomous, especially in state universities. If private universities have a bit of, involvement with staff too. So this was something from in my mind long ago, but then one day I said, okay, how can I start? That happened when I came back, and from US, again, the chain, I also say this is my own very own quotation, that if you haven't got another opportunity from one opportunity, you have failed at first opportunity. Because that's how my chain has become. From one, even till now, this has been a chain of starting from grad. I volunteered, somebody told me, so I got an opportunity, which means my volunteership was also successful. I went there, I came back, and I didn't know even about the alumni networks, honestly, because they had an email ID. So we all got an email that now you're a part of alumni network, and we have seed grants. And I had no idea about seed grants, but I knew that I'll have an organization. So I said, okay, let's, put the seed grant thing under my organization, and let's do it, the social work. So I said, okay, I will think about it and I'll do it. So I pitched for Interfaith Harmony. I remember I had it was very small grant. It was just I guess $150, just $150. And I remember not caring about this, and I planned an activity. I gathered Christian community, Hindu community, Sikh community, and Muslim community, which is very rare, especially in my city. People who are from Sindh do have inclusion of Hindus and temples in them, but in Punjab, everybody would be like, "Oh my God, are you Hindu?" If somebody is Hindu, so it's not something very casual and happening a lot of times. So I gathered all of them. We had a dialogue. I still remember that everybody eats chicken in our country. It's very normal. I remember that keeping this thing in mind, that I said that there would be only rice and potatoes. That made them so happy, because they are usually non-veg. They're vegetarian, sorry. Other religious people. So they were so happy that in Pakistan, it's just so rare that somebody remembers this. The chicken is so mainstream and common for, hosting. It's something special that people forget that. And even that comment still makes me so happy that they felt it a nice gesture. We had a dialogue, we ate food in a place, and then I took all of them first to mosque, then we went to temple, then we all went to, Gurdwara, and then we went to church. And it was, I don't know, I still get goosebumps. I felt so nice with all the religious people and, everybody visiting all of it, respecting all places. It was very nice. So I just did that project and submitted the report. And I had no idea. It's still there on the website. If you write IREX, IREX, their alumni network grant, they published my idea in their website out of a lot of ideas. And they said that we want to publish your story and we want to publish a success story. And I was like, how come is it a success? I didn't know that, it could go this long, and they would contact me. They interviewed me, they put my story, and it was a big deal for me. I was like, wow, that was my first publication, I guess. And my first own project. There were publications, but of course not directly mine. So I was extremely happy, extremely. I was like jumping because I did it from a very, with my own heart, and, listening to the feedback of the people who came there, listening to the feedback of the donors actually meant a lot. I was extremely happy. So their grant announced next year. I didn't know where else to apply. I applied for the same grant. I waited for the 6 months. It was, I guess, coming after 6 months. Again, a very small grant. Again, I applied for one activity, another idea. And then I secured third one, and then I secured fourth one, the small ones. And then they put me in the list, and this took me as a speaker, that how there's one person who have got four grants in a row. So maybe the new idea pitchers can learn from her. And imagine what would I have been feeling like, someone who didn't even know anything, someone who didn't even know proposal writing at all. I just pitched my ideas because at that phase, it doesn't matter much how you write, but it's more about the idea. So I was so happy. I spoke there, and it was like, oh my God, okay, I didn't know that they don't give grants consecutively to a person. So then I knew, okay, they don't prefer it back to back. So those 4 grants gave me and MASHAL also the opportunity to conduct projects, and that's where MASHAL started. That's how it started.
Okay, and so yeah, which specific? So I guess you pitch a specific event or specific project. Now it's so big. So what was it like a workshop as well to raise awareness about reproductive and sexual health? Or could you share a bit like which project did you do?
So when there was a gap between the small grants, what I used to do was I used to do social work activities. I even go to orphanages. I would go to I still remember I have that activity. We all just went on Eid day, the other Eid, which is more fancier, and we meet people, to the guards, doctors, and everybody who's on duty at the same day. And we, distributed food just randomly. There was like no point of, maybe making something, but we just wanted to. So when I volunteered for an organization that I was working on, and they gave me the project of reproductive health and rights, and, coming from a family where, everybody talks about health and women health, and my mom is also very bold and blunt about women rights. And because we are 3 sisters, I've always heard this from other people. I remember in my childhood that telling my mom how you can have a son, or maybe it's better to have a son, and oh my God, you have twins and those are also daughters. And my mom giving them a befitting reply that these 3 are daughters, are my sit to everything, and I don't need anybody else. So I've heard this, but I didn't know that, again, I didn't know that it's called patriarchy. It is something happening in every other house. It is something that other people also relate to. So when I took that project and I heard about such stereotypes, such gender inequality, and I realized that I could relate to a lot of it. I could see that, where people are coming from. So that's where, my project gave me insight. But if I talk about my own organization working on sexual reproductive health and rights, is the inspirational story. So before that application, I was also working, but I was, doing, you can say, workshops talking about reproductive health and rights. So my friends knew that I'm working on this. My friends knew that I have doctors in my family. So that's where my inspiration story comes in, where my friend, called me. She's an engineer. And she said that I don't know what are contraceptive methods, and can you connect me to a doctor? I said that I was a bit confused, and I was like, okay, I will connect, but is everything okay? She said that, she has two children, and her husband comes by annually. And in Kuwait, there's some visa issue. Pakistanis are not given spouse, especially. So she's not mentally ready for the third child. So she wants to know the contraceptive method. I thought it's very common, at least after marriage, at least after one baby, everybody knows. So I said that, how come you don't know? To me, it was a surprise, although I was working on the same thing. She said that, how would I know that, before marriage, people are, they always raise their eyebrow, why you're going to gynecological centers and why you are, talking about such things. It's good to have a baby in the first year of marriage. And then after marriage, if you go, then again, they are like, why you're going? Then we have mobility issues. I've seen on all Asia, including Vietnam, Bangladesh, India, everyone, Bhutan, every woman has bike. And if not, it's because of the certain economic conditions. But here, even if you're economically good, there are no women on bikes. So it's so rare that if now there's a woman on bike, people take pictures and put it on media. It is so rare. It is so rare here. So there's mobility issue, a lot of women, and I still don't get it, honestly. I've seen Asian countries coming out of this thing now and making mobility easier, because I think that's the need of an hour. But this is something we still lack. So there's mobility issue, she couldn't go. And of course, girls are not allowed to leave home all by themselves, if you understand the Asian culture as well, or maybe subcontinent culture. She said that, I said, okay, why you didn't Google it? Okay, leave everything, you haven't gone, but what about Google? She said that information is scattered. Where's the single information together? What is the religious information? How would I know which method I should use? What are the pros and cons? I said, okay, I do know that there are telehealth services. Why you didn't call any hospital? She said, where are the numbers? I couldn't find. So these are the questions I still have that chat, by the way. I see that chat. I'm so glad that was a chat. That was not just on the call, but she also, chatted me afterwards, because now I see that back and it makes me happy. Because when I chat, after again talking to her, I researched again on the Google and I saw that there would be, if there's any platform, but I also realized that there was no single platform. Of course, there are websites, of government telling their helplines separately of one thing, then some organization telling theirs, because if they would share other helplines, their business would get affected, right? So they would never tell at one platform. So I thought that why there is no one platform, how would somebody know about contraceptives if they cannot go outside? So this was a brainstorm discussion sort of thing that happened, and I pitched this idea. I discussed it with someone, and he's my senior, and he said that, yes, it's a very good idea. So I remember I used to keep on applying on the fellowships. Again, I came back from a fellowship, and the fellowship offered grants, and luckily I got that grant, and I pitched this idea at that time. So I made a pilot phase of one city only. So I made that, and today the recognition is all because it started from that idea. And I remember when I went to US for a global accelerator program, Bill and Melinda Gates Institute called us. Their trainer, that sentence would always stick to my mind because unintentionally I did that. He said that ideas become a success when you make a tool after seeing a problem, instead of making a tool and then solving a problem. You see a problem, then make a tool, but people make a tool and then create a problem. And then I went back to my journey and I thought, okay, yes, I also saw a problem, and, I tried to solve that, and, I connected. So that sentence has, gotten in my mind. So that was my journey for MASHAL, specifically after I left my work, because then I started with the fellowship. Of course, it's still even not right now easy to sustain. It's not easy because, every time you're out of resource, and that's the difference between impact making organizations and business. In business, at least you're getting revenue. If not, you sustain it, revenue is normal, but you're getting something if once your business has started. But in an impact organization, even you are at the peak, even if you're recognized, at the end, you don't have revenue. Maybe you're creating free apps, you're getting the projects. So to make it sustainable, it's always really important to, add this point of revenue generation, I believe. But it's not always possible in every sort of act for organizations. So it's a tricky journey to actually follow impact organizations, at least in my country. And no, I think it is in my country, because I maybe you have no idea, but in Pakistan, it's extremely tricky to receive funds now, to register your organizations as non-for-profit. to get the certificates, to get the bank account. Every step is a hurdle, so you don't get it. And for business, everything is okay because they are paying tax. So everybody who has two options would never think about this journey. It is full of hurdles, and those hurdles are at times, even no matter how much hard work you do, are not going to get away, because there are policies. They have said it. I don't know at the back or what. I don't know, but they don't let us get registered for so many reasons. Everyone says that. Everybody has tried. So the other path, which is of business, is easier, and it has revenue. It has no issues. It is not looked down upon. Feminism, NGO, bad things, and business is fine. Businesswoman sounds cool than NGO person. So I think that path that I've chosen is also not so fancy and easy. And I did start some sort of small business, not like very much of my passion, but just to see how I perform, and it was a good experience. It was very smooth actually. But then again, until I'm in the youth age where I could create sustainable solutions, I would again go back to the NGO sector, no matter what the connotations are to it. I would again go to it. So I stuck there. I stick there. I think that's my destination. I left architect for it. So I don't think now I would choose, other side just for the sake of, because there are hurdles. So definitely maybe at a age, if I'm out of resources, then I cannot say. I try to sustain a lot, that I sustain in a way that I can carry on this organization for 10 more years at least. But if I couldn't, that's another thing. Because, in country, I would say bluntly, I wouldn't say, even if I am, sitting at a role where now I would be working at the policy level at government, but I would still say that the journey for non-for-profit is very difficult. It's very difficult. There's so many hurdles. They don't let you get anything. So how could you, even if you win the idea, it's all in vain.
And that's, when it's crazy, it sounds so complicated. And I think on top of that, I feel like it's only one of the challenges that you face among everything else. Because I think one thing is also, you mentioned it somewhere as well. It's like you have your app. I think I didn't, from what I understand, you don't have an app or developer background. So this is another hurdle to overcome and figure out. As well, you mentioned all the issues around reproductive and sexual health, or the concept even of feminism is taboo or tricky in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And you have all of this to deal with at the same time. Maybe just, first, were you never afraid, first, maybe on the taboo side, to propose a solution in that sector? Or you were always super confident? Or, I wonder, did you ever feel afraid or scared or not sure of what could happen?
Actually, there's this thing of confidence in me. You just said like a few minutes earlier, I've heard this from a lot of people, that you are good at public speaking. Not at a single place, no matter how much the controversial topic is, has anyone, pointed something that, no, this is bad. Although they do think that's bad. It's not like that they don't think as bad, or I've always gotten a very good audience, or maybe they're mesmerized. No, but I think I do connect to people at a point. I use those words where people could get comfortable. I, sort of, you can say, be vulnerable in front of them in a way that, how I have also faced such issues. My friends have faced, and your mothers or your daughters or sisters or your relatives would have faced. So I think my public speaking has helped me a lot, because that fear was somewhere in my subconscious, definitely, because this topic, even the one of my team member went somewhere, and the person from the government sector said that, what sort of vulgarity you're promoting in your app? There's no need to tell this. People would start having affairs, and they would know the contraceptives so that they have no conception, and they would not fear God. I've heard this, and it was the first time only my team member was there. So maybe you can say it's a coincidence, or it's my public speaking, but no matter, there were men, women, older, younger, government, private sector. Till now, nobody has said that what vulgarity was spreading. Although I thought I would get it. I would get it because I've seen people talking like this. I've seen even on social media. I was very curious. So I don't know, maybe some people I believe that other people have the same motto as well. The people who are working on reproductive health and rights, they have good motto, they have good, approach towards it. But maybe the way they are communicating, or maybe unluckily, I would say, at times I've seen very good things getting very bad reviews. So no, I wouldn't always say words. But till now, this happens. This has not happened with me yet. You can check my reviews in the app section. You cannot delete a review if somebody puts that there. You can see on the Facebook. You can Google it. But I've seen campaigns just recently. I think a week back, there's an organization who published a sort of advertisement where they are saying not to, cover contraceptives and sanitary pads into the brown paper. So people in some certain groups were very offended by that. And they said that why you're even talking about our privacy? This is something we feel comfortable with. This is our norm. So why you're attacking our norms? We don't want to uncover those. And there was a lot of negativity around it. So it's not like, and it was very well made advertisement, I would say. That's why I was a little bit afraid. But on the other hand, I was always confident about, connecting with people at such level, for the training. When there's like a full hall, I always feel like if there are 200 people, I wouldn't speak if somebody's not listening to me. I've seen speakers still speaking and nobody's listening to them. I make sure that I speak in a way that everybody's quite, at least, 95% of them are listening. I start in a way, I connect with them. So maybe that's why because I don't think that my product is some exceptional that they haven't said a bad word about it. People do say, but maybe it's more about how you are communicating it. What are the words you are using it? Because at the end of the day, we are still working for the impact. We are still working, but it's controversial. It's again choosing then from business to this side. And from this side to another, controversial thing. Climate is very fine, very soft. Nobody would say anything to it. Tree plantation is very soft. So you could do anything like this. Nobody would say a word. But talking about women's rights and reproductive health and rights is, oh my God, one of the biggest, according to people, was, and anybody could go viral in a bad way. Anybody would be defamed on social media. And that's why people started hiding and their profiles and talking about it. So that's another challenge in this field. So yes, maybe one part is public speaking, another part can be luck. I don't know. Still yet, this hasn't happened.
Is it on the public speaking part? Is it something where you say like naturally good at this, or is it something you learned because you were conscious about that?
This was something since I was in school. And that's why I told you I'm good at extempore. I wanted to, be in extracurricular activities, write my own essays, didn't want to cram. So this was something in me since birth, I guess. There's different nature of everyone. Even my closest sister might not be like this, She's different. She might be creative, but not in that way. So I believe that it has a lot to do with the nature and personality as well. Of course, schools play and your parents play a very, very big role in making you confident. I believe that. But on the other hand, same people are there in the class, but they are not, alike. Everybody is different. So then I think there's a personality part that comes in, and this public speaking and being a bit creative was more in as a part of my personality.
Oh, that's really cool. I never saw it like this way. Yeah, it's like, I find it very interesting because you adopt vocabulary, like how to make sure people really listen to me, and how can I meet them halfway, basically, so that they don't need to do all the efforts, and maybe they might not listen, they might be against you, but because public speaking, it's many people speak about techniques and stuff, but it's most of all understanding who is in front of you and how you can make sure they listen. So that's super, super cool. Maybe just to come back on maybe the concrete activities that you do with MASHAL. I know I'm not the best expert on reproductive and sexual health. Could you maybe briefly redefine or elaborate a bit more on what are the, specific issues for Pakistan in this regard and that you are trying to address?
Okay. Pakistan, first of all, is the main issue is not, removing the generational gap and thinking about these things as something vulgar. This is the first thing, not accepting it. The second thing is that sexual reproductive health and rights is not something that I would say it's one word. It's more like I always say that it's a plant seed from which so many things grow. It's if you don't give sexual reproductive health and rights, the problem of early age marriages grows up. The problem of unhealthy pregnancies grows up. The problem between couples grow up. The abortion issues grows. So it's not even limited to these 3-4 things. It's much more than that. I always say that it's not about having a small family. It's about having a healthy family. It's not about how or when you are going to have a child. It's about if you are making a choice to have your family, or it's the peer pressure or your family pressure who's asking you. If you are making the choice, or it's your myth. That I always make it in a fun way, even in my speaking in another way. I say that why the girls in subcontinent, I mean India and Pakistan, have a very short-term reproductive organs that expires after 25 years. But whereas when I go to other countries like in West, especially everybody's getting married, around 13. A lot of women are having children at 35 and 40s too. I'm not saying that there would be not a single complication, but they're heavy and it's normal. But in our subcontinent, every woman is born with an expiry date of 25 years. So this is what it is said when somebody gets married. If you won't have a child in the first year, oh my God, something's going to happen to you. And that actually makes you afraid if you are not, into medical science and everything. So Pakistan has that issue. It is the issue in the subcontinent, in Bangladesh and India as well, but same as it is in Pakistan too. So this is the first thing. No counseling, no information, and a lot of myths attached to it. Now coming back to the services. Services are out there, but because you don't talk about it, how would you know that what are the services available for it? Somebody would suggest services when you're going to talk to your children. We don't have any, sex education. We don't have even LSB, which is like life skills based education in our curriculum at all. Even the reproductive health chapter, which is in the biology chapter is, torn and, steppered and not taught in our schools. These are the stories that still in this century, in this metropolitan cities keeps on happening. So number one are the myths and these things attached to it. And then there is the second portion of not getting, awareness about the platforms available. So these are the two things. So SRHR is like a broader term, which has a lot of consequences because it's not given. And one of the reasons that recently men are engaged into such, thematic areas is because here, if you just guide women, at the end, they're going to go home. It's patriarchal and men are going to take decisions and that they are not going to, listen to it. But on the other hand, we are not saying that we are, endorsing patriarchy and we are engaging men because they will take decisions. We engage men to tell them that it's your, wife's right to also discuss no and plan for her own health as well, to give her the rights too. So it's really important to take men and women on board. There was a time when only women were taken on board. Nobody, I don't know about other countries that much. I have the rough idea, but here there is no concept of vasectomy at all. Only the point is about the women contraceptive methods, be that permanent to temporary. Nobody talks about men contraceptives, which are easier, shorter, less painful. Even then, why? I don't understand this. Why? But I always talk about this. So sexual reproductive health and rights is like beyond these all things, but it, maybe starts from a very small thing of lack of awareness and it goes, to your whole life, impacting your decisions. So that's where MASHAL stands. And that's on something we have worked. So initially before or apart from application, I always try to maybe add some innovative approach. Innovative, I don't know, sustainable, I don't know, but in a fun way, people would attract to. For example, recently I just had very funny short stories on family planning. So it's on YouTube. And it's a small story of every household in our society that it looks like and what they, do for new couples, for old couples, for siblings, what happens. Some are funny, some are very funny, some are serious. So I made short YouTube series because COVID, everybody was at home. So before that, when it was in-person sessions, we used to do theater plays. I engaged theater groups. I used to outsource, and they used to act, and it was very powerful performance. And then when I made the application, I used to tell them to add that new story, telling audience that there's an application you could download. So this was the second thing. Third, I engage young people a lot on social media as well, using the profiles, their feedback, what the impact they had in their lives, and inviting them to the seminars and sessions where they can stay connected, do internships or volunteer with us, like the way I started, way long ago. They can also start with us. I always have interns, usually from my students as well, but from other people who apply to that too. And then we, came to this point where we had this tool development. We started off with just one Android application. At that time, this was a small grant again. Then I went to web application. Then I went to iOS application. Then I went to, from one city to whole province of Punjab, from 10 clinics to 2,500 clinics that I added. From English to Urdu, I have the audio version in it for the people who cannot, see. And we also included a story of a person who cannot see and using that application. So these are the small things that we keep on adding. There's a one manual that you can use for training people if you want, even in the rural areas. The manual is in my app. You can download and use it. So these are the small things that I keep on adding in my application to make it more innovative, sustainable, or maybe more creative. And then I added an e-store recently. You can buy SRH products, but on the discounted rates. So basically, I'm not selling them because it's not making any revenue. But through this platform, we have connected to another store, and that store is giving our customers discount. So in that way, they use the application. So these are the things that we keep on doing. And then this time I thought of another innovative idea, which was also, of course, pitched with when I was working with the people who were, making the videos. So it's a song just launching, I guess, after 3-4 days. So we sort of decided the lyrics, and we have a song. It's a fun way of telling how a lot of siblings have made a person feel like in a home where he feels like everybody is unknown. So it's a fun-based rap music, and we are launching it in a day or two. So I always feel like that I don't want to do some mainstream things, but I do have challenges for that, always. There are a lot of organizations, such bigger organizations, which have been working for 30, 40 years or 50 years. At times, donor is more lean towards them. They have better structures. Of course, they do have HR, managing, financial, everything is there. But on the other hand, young people definitely need support for that because, I would carry on a project, I would make mistakes, and that's when next time I would know where I made mistakes. But one thing that I can assure you is that the ideas which are coming from the young people wouldn't even match a single one coming from those who are working since 50, 60 years. So meaningful youth engagement is the key. I feel really bad when we are called for a conference and they take pictures and they send us away. Or they call us as a panelist. Everybody is given first turn, they are given half an hour, and young people are given last 5 minutes. Even no matter how much they are recognized, they are still taken as a kid. So this is very humiliating, especially when you get exposure and you see this people who are abroad, they listen to you like you are somebody influential. They give you such respect and such an honor that when you come back and you feel like at such platforms, you are treated this way. So it's very disheartening. And that's why keeping up with the resources is not always easy, getting back-to-back projects, because you'll get projects from the alumni associations or, as I told you, that registration issues are there. So many things already cut down. A lot of organizations would say that you would be operating at this high budget already, or maybe you have this structure set up already. So if you would have such sort of, what I would say, conditions, how can you empower young people, especially women? I have worked and I haven't seen anybody teaching me proposal writing. When I started writing out the ideas, I didn't know technical writing, to be honest. I have learned it over time. Nobody taught me, nobody teaches, even if you ask or beg them. They don't. I don't know, but it's not the scenario over here. So this is one of the approaches, and that's why I respect those donors and those people who are supporting young people just based on their ideas, no network, no reference, just their ideas, knowing that they might have a little, lesser, I would say, HR management system or financial system, or the offices might not be so big and organized. They might be even working from one room, 5, 6 people. But when they support, that's when I guess, youth ideas keep sprouting. It's still very less in our country. Even if there is, it's coming from international ones. So national ones are still very less. That's a challenge. That's the biggest challenge. And then coming for a women-led organization, it's another challenge because people don't believe it's sustainable.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say, but you said it in a much better way that I could ever think of. But no, I mean, for me, it's beautiful to see the growth of MASHAL, but in the sense of course, what you do around, family planning, reproductive health, etc., but also in terms of youth development, youth engagement. Very interesting how you broaden what you do, because it's also the story of your life, right? Being a young leader, being more confident and tackling all these issues. And maybe just on that to speak a bit about the future, but what is your dream? What is your vision? Or how you said at least you'd like to have MASHAL run for the next 10 years. But so yeah, what do you hope to achieve in the next 10 years?
The reason I said 10 years, because I'm not going to behave the way some people do, even if they, are old enough, to even invite young people. When it's 10 years or 15 years more, I would definitely invite Gen Z to, they have newer ideas than me. I'm millennial now. I would say that they have better ideas. After 10 years, I'm gone. This is my time. And then, the era of next generation is going to come in. That's why I say that at least for 10 years, I want to keep pitching my ideas. If MASHAL still grows, I would have other people to, be in the line of leaders. So my dream is, of course, to sustain the organization, and not only sustain, but also to make an impact and not let this organization's application die, because I've spent a lot of effort in, talking about it, promoting it. I don't want to wrap it up just because of lack of resource. That's always one of those fears that I have, especially talking about the current state policies and everything. But one of the things that gives me hope, of course, COVID was also very depressing because I won some grants and they were taken back, because I know that in pandemics and epidemics, you work for the things that's more important. But I do believe that I never thought, I even didn't know the name that this organization is linked to when I got Family Planning Leader Award from Bill and Melinda Gates Institute, the only woman from Pakistan who got it. And I think achievement is not getting awards. Achievement is making an impact. So people search, and even on the websites, and even we wrote on social media as well, that I've achieved this. But I've always felt from my heart that achievement is not award. Awards are for boosting my morale. I feel it really good when somebody is accepting, sort of, people second you that yes, this is important. So for me, awards, comments, feedback is extremely important. I'm one of those people that they're dying to know the feedback, dying to know how I teach, even from my students. I am one of those people. So awards actually give me that insight. So they are also important. But if I say that is what's an achievement would be impacting people. So when I got this award, I was again very overwhelmed positively. I was very happy. And then I, switched from one city to more cities. And coming from that, I worked with a government department. I remember the secretary telling everybody that this idea should have been in government place. It should have been coming to our department. I wish I had somebody to record that because that was really important. Again, it was a feedback for me. It means a lot to me coming from, secretary, from a government person who doesn't even know me and knows that I'm just a youth-led organization, no links, nothing, no connections, no collaborations. So they didn't collaborate because, the registrations were not complete. So these are the hurdles we have. So these things, and then these things happened, and we did consultancy for government-led organizations as well. But I really always, whenever I talk, I want to name those platforms like 120 under 40, which is from Bill and Melinda Gates, like Women Deliver, from where I started. If I didn't have that start, I don't know where was I today. And then today, keeping in view that young youth-led organization is a risk to take, supporting them, guiding them. Amplify Change has been a big support, making dreams come true, making the ideas come true, making this song launch, this YouTube series, this applications to iOS, expanding it. I always want to thank them wholeheartedly because I know what challenges we have as youth, as young, as women. So my dream now is, because of Amplify Change, I would say again, I will give credit to them. Because of them, I was able to work in the last year, because it was like there was nothing left, what happened across the world. Because of them, I worked, and this year I got selected in Prime Minister National Youth Council. I don't know if you have seen that or not, and that is a big deal. It's unpaid, it's volunteer, but it's not about always payment. It's not always about, getting resources. But getting on a state level, at the level of Prime Minister, not even local or federal or those departments which are provincial, at a Prime Minister level, at a president level, where that even if you won't be able to work because of certain restrictions, you still have that position where you can influence at least one thing. In 2 years, at least, the least I could do would be one thing. So I chose, and the most happiest part was that in National Youth Council, they had a separate theme for sexual reproductive health and rights because of, our population issues. So of course, I straight away went for SRHR. And now I'm in the policy making at state level. Now we just had our orientation and oath ceremony last month. And now we are into SRHR group. As I said, that I'm closing up my project, wrapping up. And after that, we are working on the policies. I cannot even dream. I don't want to even imagine it, that if we discuss policies that's actually going to be implemented in Pakistan from us, this is huge for me, huge. Coming from just like one social work activity today, working for consultancies, I got big donors, good organizations that I always called as that maybe I'm lucky because I've seen other people hardworking, I've seen other people ideas. But sad part is that they sometimes don't get, even at times I don't get the sustainability. And that's why I lose a lot of team members because of that. But now, because I am at a point that even, although of course I don't want to leave the marketing of the project, I want to continue expanding the application. But for example, if I don't have funding, I just feel optimistic in this way that at least I'm at a government level working. That's not going to stop. That's going to continue. In fact, my ideas now would be more amplified, more multiplied, and I could take it to the bigger level. So this has sort of given me security in that way, which is non-monetary, but feels good, because I have seen a very big gap between two projects, and I lost some good team members, and that consistency that you need to have. Maybe I would have had all four province in my app right now, that I didn't have it right now. But yes, I do dream to work on policy level, because I think that's the social work was just the grassroots thing. But at the end, what you're envisioning is the policy level change at the government level, because government level change is what we all need, right? So even if they would, I would be happy to make something for them by developing an application or something, but that's going to sustain forever. But I should know if it's going to sustain. If it's going to be left after a year, it's better to work on policy and not on tools. Policy then gets implemented, converts into laws and something, but when it comes to tools, we don't know how long they're going to take it with them. So my focus was not even on tools. Even everybody said that this should be on government level. I don't know how much they're going to sustain it. They won't. There are a lot of issues at government level. But when the policies get accepted, somewhere it is going to be there in the process of laws and policies and all that. So my dream at the end, which I think I'm very near to, and I don't know if I would be able to complete that or not, but I'm optimistic about it, is to work on policy level now. I've been working 7 years, and I want to literally, take all those learnings that I had from that to this policy group now.
Such a beautiful journey from your work at super grassroots level to, policy side, system side. And yeah, it's a bit like, now, as you said, your advocacy will always be there through, not necessarily through MASHAL, but through everything that you do, but through now that you're there. Yeah, you can whisper at the ear of the Prime Minister. So that's pretty cool. And related to that, maybe in general, for those who listen, or in general, how can people support MASHAL, support your dreams? in your life?
You can see our website, www.beamashal.com. So mashal is basically, how should I translate it? It's the light, the light which is passed on in the Olympics as well, the mashal. So it's like be a mashal, be a light for everyone. So my website is beamashal.com. And if you can support us in any way, like if you want to volunteer in your country or city, if you think you can take this message in your country, if you want to collaborate on the application level, if you think that your country needs this application and we can collaborate and take it to a global level or a regional level, we can do it because there's somebody who actually from my application, took that inspiration to her own region. So if you think you can help in that way, if you think you can donate us, if you think you can, collaborate with the projects, if not donation only, or in any way, as I said earlier, that I have never said no to any opportunity. So if there's any opportunity which, the work can be expanded, it's always good because those people who are living in, underdeveloped countries know these struggles that I'm talking about the regulations, the registrations, the being a woman and talking about such aspects. It's not always preferred. People also, investors also feel like investing in business initiatives more than this, and because of these problems, of course. So in any way possible, if there's any idea you have, I'm like, we are always welcome. You're always welcome. We are always available for that. And we can connect us through our email. We have all the email IDs over there. I started speaking in Urdu. All email IDs and websites, other addresses, the website address of application is also on the Mashal's website.
And yeah, I will put the website and everything in the description. But yeah, I think having such inspiring conversation, we're approaching the end. So I would just like to end with my two ending questions that I always ask. A bit philosophical, but I love them. But yeah, the first one is how do you hope or how do you want people to know you for or remember you for?
I want people to remember me for somebody who has made an impact, like in any way possible. I'm totally okay if that impact was for one girl as well. As soon as somebody's life has changed because of me, that's like the biggest success for me. So I want people. I know that there are a lot of legendary people who have done remarkable work. I know that there are people who are like big names. They're forgotten at the end of the day. But somewhere, some people still know their efforts. So I want to be one of those people who would be remembered as somebody who's inspiring, who's motivating, and who has made an impact.
I already remember you like this. And how would you describe yourself in 3 hashtags?
3 hashtags. So my personal statement back in 2013 started with these 3 hashtags when I didn't show it to any teacher. So maybe, they were good enough that they got selected. And I started my personal statement was 3 qualities that I have is creative, empathetic, and dedicated. So this was my first sentence. So I think I still would like to keep it.
Nice. Yeah. So it was very, very good, very spot on already back then. And yeah, final question is if you could go back to maybe, you just started studying sociology, it's your first day at university. So you can go back in time, you can meet Laraib at the exit of the uni and you can tell her something. What would you like to tell her?
Oh my God, there's a lot of difference between these 2 personalities of Laraib. Back in 2010, I'm so old, and 2021. It's been 11 years of my first day at sociology class. So I think very different. I mean, because it was just like after intermediate and just, skipping medical school, I would go and say that a lot is coming up and be optimistic. Although even at that time, I was never, worried. I've seen people getting stressed out all the time. And I was telling my friend that other day that if I had this thing in my mind, that what I'm going to do, where I have to go to for the job, where I have to apply, these questions, if I had these, it would stress me out. I never thought it this way. I just took the opportunity that came. And once I had that opportunity, I kept on searching. But that's, the whole thought process of, oh my God, what now? This gives me stress. Even the people, if such people are around me, it gives me stress. To an extent that I cannot work. So that's in my nature. So even at that time, I was not panicked. But if I would go there, I would, tell that Laraib, there's a lot is coming up. And yes, you shouldn't, just these 18 years or 25 years are very important years of your life. It's not just meant for studies only. I was not into studies so much, but we are not told about the opportunities, as I said earlier. So Lara, please know what is internship and volunteer. Just apply, go. I would tell her what are the opportunities and platforms.
Cool. Yeah, no, thank you so much. Love it. Yeah, I think thank you so much for the conversation. It was so cool there's a limit of what I can understand from just talking you on LinkedIn and stuff. So it's very good to get all the stories.
I hope I was not speaking so fast. I have to control myself at times. Okay, so I'm not speaking so fast.
No, it was good for me. Yeah, I think you said you master the public speaking skills.
Oh yes, but I do this at times. I get so fast.
No, it was good. I think Omer speaks very fast. Actually, no, it makes me think about something with Omer. I remember he was speaking about APYE, so Asia Pacific Youth Exchange, and he saw that in like, I know there was a list of like where people could come from to apply, and he didn't see Pakistan in the list. I know most people will be like, okay, I cannot apply, but he still applied, and he was like, why is Pakistan not in the list?
Yes.
And he got in, and then they added Pakistan the year after.
It happens like a lot of platforms. That's why I started the scholarship workshop. A lot of places. I've seen Indians, I've seen Bangladeshis, because of course I would compare myself to Asian countries. And I've seen Pakistan being absent in a lot of lists.
And I've seen also that, it's so important. And I've seen that you also Unleash alumni.
Yes, and when Unleash started, like back in 2015, it was their first ever workshop in Denmark, first ever lab. At that time, my application was not there. I chose health and well-being. They have like categories or thematic areas, and you actually reminded me of something very good. It was, the format. You're also alumni.
Yes, from China 2019.
Okay, so they have this platform where you choose a category, you go and develop an idea. So our group was discussing what idea we can have, and two of us, there was one more person from African region. He and me said that there should be some online platform for health, and the other three didn't agree. So that's one of those things that happens in Unleash when you're grouped with other people from different regions. They didn't agree to that extent that they said that it's not that good, but okay, let's keep it in that tone, right? And at that time, he and me said, okay, but we will work on this when we will go back to our countries. I forgot this, so I have worked on this. He knows this now. So such platforms always gives us such it's good. I love fellowships. I've learned a lot through fellowships.
Yeah, it planted a small seed. That's super cool. Cool. Yeah, no, me too. I love fellowships, all these programs. Hopefully there will be more coming in the next year.
I hope so.
But yeah, no, thank you so much. That was so cool. And yeah, I think everyone, again, if you think about any ways you can support or, collaborate with Laraib or MASHAL or anything about her advocacy, please contact her. And yeah, such a cool conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for calling me. I'm really, really glad to be here. You have a very good positive vibe and you're a very good listener. Not everybody is a good listener. So I'm really happy and thank you for calling me and allowing me to share my story. I hope that somebody's out there who's just starting gets this motivation that without references, without any links with bigger organizations or something, you still can, try yourself at least. No matter how many times you want, what's your passion is, just go for it. So I hope it has helped somebody, and I hope it has came up to the mark as well as you have thought. And let's stay connected.
Congrats for listening until the end of this episode. Of course, to best support Lifeline, you can share this episode to 2 of your friends and subscribe to the next episodes on any platform. See you next time!